All right, are we live? Are we working? Good morning, guys. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope everybody's having a really productive week, even though if you turn on the news, you feel like the world is burning down and horrible things are happening. But not all is terrible in the world. There are some good things happening. And hopefully, you guys are able to find some sort of a place to stay motivated and productive because this is just kind of the world we're living in now. But anyways, focusing on positive stuff. I hope you guys are doing well. I've been really following up on some really interesting news and some interesting developments that are happening in our world. And one of the interesting things that I just learned is that BMI had one of its biggest record-breaking years. I think last year, 2021, was one of its record-breaking years, and they are now partnering up with Goldman Sachs, which feel however you want to feel about Goldman Sachs and their history and what happened with the financial crisis. But one thing Goldman Sachs does know how to do well is make money, and they make a lot of money. Actually, that's what they're good at. And so it's really interesting. BMI is now bringing on Goldman Sachs to potentially find more revenue growth with their members. So, I'm sort of in the middle on this one. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I don't think it's a great thing. I think it's sort of an interesting thing. And if it's sort of meant to help us find some new income and some new revenue for us, like I'm all for it. So I'm really interested and curious as to what they're going to be doing and how they're going to use Goldman Sachs to kind of be a consultant to help them out. So that's really cool. Hardware, welcome, man. Love your stuff. Only recently got into it, but it's teaching me a lot. Very cool. Glad you found my channel. Hey, Hardware, let me know. Did you know about sync licensing before you found my channel, or was my channel the first exposure you had to it? I'm always curious how people find me and what led you to me. So really, let me know your story, man. I'd really like to know. Ronan, good morning. Glad you could join me, man. I know some of you guys are probably at work right now, sneaking in a little bit of YouTube live streaming, but that's all right. We won't hang out too long today. Definitely got a few minutes though. I wanted to check in with you guys, see how things were going. Justin, good morning, man. Glad you joined us. We've had an amazing result from our Pro Feedback launch. I've been really, really excited to see a lot of members joining us. And it's been really cool to see many of them, like right when they joined up, I can see that they're posting their tracks already, putting it up for our pros. And some of them are getting feedback actually already within a few days of being on the platform. And I'm seeing some really positive comments and just feedback from that. So that's always exciting. I love seeing that. It's a really cool, just a community that we're building. And actually, some of you guys saw some of those testimonials that I released on my channel a couple days ago, I think on Sunday. And one of the members, he made a really good point where I don't really emphasize as much of the community aspect of Pro Feedback and Sync Academy and Sync Edge, but it's a huge part of what we do with these platforms, with these services. Not just about you getting the feedback or you watching the tutorials or you getting the music library recommendations. It's not just about that particular benefit. It's also about not being isolated and not being all by yourself in this business, because it is a lonely business. I mean, we are working in our own little isolated pods, essentially, right, in our home studios. And when you don't have a community that you can check in on and ask how everybody's doing and let everybody know how you're doing and ask for some help and some clarification and some motivation, it's a really, really hard business to be at for years and years and years all by yourself. In fact, I'm going to tell you it's impossible if you're trying to do all this by yourself without some sort of a community. And of course, being in person with other people, that's the ideal, but we are sort of spread out all over the country and all over the world. We have members from all over the world. So the next best thing is to have some sort of an online community where you can interact with each other. And I do believe in the next couple of years, we'll probably all have some ability to be in a VR environment where we can literally be around each other's avatars. So that'll even be a step closer to having kind of a cool network that we can hang out with. And I'm really excited for that. I'm looking forward to some possibilities with VR. I know not everybody is excited about that technology, but I do think it's going to bring some really cool things that we can do moving into the future. So anyways, hardware, you were letting me know. You've been researching a while, but the way you found it was through searching something along the lines of sync licensing on Spotify for podcasts, and then came to YouTube after that. Cool, man. Right on. I'm glad that I was one of the ones that popped up there. All right, Ronan, you joined Pro Feedback. Right on, man. Glad you joined us. Sending in the first track today. Very cool. Hope you're happy with the feedback you get from your pro. Kirk, good morning. Loving the Sync Pro service. Right on. Cool. Glad to hear that, Kirk. Asif, good morning. And Rob, you're going to rejoin us. All right, cool, buddy. Glad to hear that. All right. And David saying connected with a couple of members, exchanging ideas and supporting our work. Yep. A lot of collaborations also happen in all of these platforms. Mostly Sync Academy, I'm seeing that happen, but it can happen in Pro Feedback. You can message people, you can talk to people, you can create community that way. But Sync Academy for sure, I know that there's a few members that have partnered up and started creating multiple albums together, and they're working with libraries that way. So it's actually a really fast way to get into a library. Sometimes all you have to do is just partner with the right other producer because they've already got a relationship with the library, and then you guys go in and hopefully, most of the time split things up 50-50, split the workload, and then you're into a library that you didn't even have to worry about pitching to and wonder if they're going to accept your music. You've kind of got an in with somebody who's already doing it. And I've seen many offers from many members who are saying, hey, I've got this library, they want this kind of music, I can do part of it, but I need somebody to help me out who wants to jump on board. So I've seen those kind of opportunities pop up in our community. So really awesome things are happening that way. And again, if I had something like this when I was first getting started in this business, I think my timeline to getting to full-time income, first of all, would have been much shorter. I feel like I was sort of stabbing at the dark for many, many months and years in my early career there, not really knowing what really works, and just kind of getting my hands around how to really produce music. But having an ability to connect with other people, ask them questions, look at some tutorials, and then most importantly, get some professional help in terms of my particular music. What am I doing right? Because for me, my weakness in the beginning was mixing. I just had these weak, quiet, not really impactful, punching, hard-hitting mixes. And I was kind of just staying in denial about that and just thinking, well, whatever, I'm a beginner and I'll get better as the time goes on. But I didn't really take that seriously in terms of really honing in and making sure that I got my tracks and mixes much stronger. And a lot of it came down to the fact that I just wasn't getting that professional attention to my music. I was getting tracks accepted by libraries, but I wasn't getting a lot of pushback in terms of like, well, you can do a little better here, you can do a little better there. Here's some ideas for how to get a more impactful, bigger mix. So if I had gotten a lot of that in the beginning, I can guarantee you guys I would have done a lot better in terms of getting to that point of having really licensable tracks and building up my royalties much quicker. So I think that's what's powerful about these services, is they're not just about getting access to the feedback, like I said before, but it's about saving time, guys. I mean, money comes and goes. Sometimes you have good months, we have bad months, good quarters with royalties, bad quarters with royalties. We all get those ups and downs in life, but nobody's getting more time, so you're not just accidentally getting an extra month in your life. We're all sort of on the same, or I should say, nobody's getting extra hours in the day. We all get the 24 hours. That's it. We're all equals in terms of that, So in terms of making sure that you're spending the most effective amount of time in your studio with the few hours that you do get every week, that's what these services are really designed for, because I've designed these to make sure that those of you that have full-time jobs, families, commitments, other things, making music, bringing music into your daily life is not something you can commit 8 hours a day to. I understand that. Maybe you got 2 hours, maybe 4 hours at the most, but you can do a lot with just 2 hours. You can do a lot with just 4 hours, but if you don't have any sort of guidelines, or you don't have any feedback, or you don't know exactly what you should be doing with that time, well, yeah, you could be definitely wasting a lot of that time. And I do apologize. I see that the stream is a little bit glitchier than I was hoping it was going to be. So, don't know why it's doing that. It's usually a little bit smoother than that. Is it a little glitchy for you guys? Let me know in the chat box. I'd love to see. Right on. THK is saying joined SyncEdge and already had quite a few replies already. So very good. So you are doing the right thing in terms of submitting the right way. Glad to hear that. Hardware is asking, what would be your advice for essential things you need on your website for your music? Very simple for your website, Hardware. I don't know if you've seen my tutorial. I do have a tutorial for how to build your own Wix-based website, a music-based website. In under an hour, you can basically do it very, very quickly. Essentially, all you really need to have is you got to have a decent picture of yourself. I do think creating that kind of personalized touch, not a selfie in the bathroom. Try to make it look somewhat professional. Have somebody else take it of you. Wear something nice. Have a nice background behind you. Kind of a simple artist-looking picture. Brief little bio, a little bit about yourself, how long you've been doing sync licensing. You don't need to write a whole book about everything, but just a couple of paragraphs. And then most importantly, when you're putting together your website, remember, what is this website for? It's probably going to be just to be pitching to a music library that you're submitting to, right? That's pretty much the main reason why you're going to put your website together. So right when they click on it, it should go immediately to your main page, which is going to have a little bit about you, your picture, and then immediately streaming a full album, 10 to 12 tracks at least for a full album. And they should all be playable right there on your website, so they can click through them and go, I like this. And if they like what they hear, they can email you back and say, hey, let's start working. So that's pretty much it. And the tutorial that I have, if you just go to my channel and type in music website 1 hour. In fact, I think if you just go to the YouTube search bar, music website 1 hour, you'll find my video there. It's a pretty popular video. And yeah, you can have it done by the end of today if you want to. And then it's a custom domain. It's yours. And then it looks really, really professional, as opposed to sending them, let's say, like, a SoundCloud playlist or something like a disco playlist, which is not bad. I'm not saying you can't get deals with those services. But when you have your own custom domain and you can kind of control how it looks, it's, to me, I describe it as putting on the suit and tie for a job interview. You can really just kind of control the first impression rather than them going to whatever SoundCloud looks like that day, or, also going to a site that's free that you didn't pay for. It also says a little bit about your seriousness and commitment to your career. So I do think that just adding a little bit of that extra professionalism to your submission to a library makes a big difference for sure. Hans, welcome, man. Hans is one of our pros in Pro Feedback. Hans, glad you're here, buddy. Um, yes, let's hope that creativity is in abundance. We need a lot of that these days. OT Mills, welcome. Young Star Productions, welcome. So yeah, wow, we got a lot of members here actually joining us today. So that's really good. I don't know if you guys are skipping out on work or you guys are really just focusing on your music today, but I hope I'm not getting any of you guys in trouble. I hope you guys are doing this when you're supposed to be doing this. So yeah, guys, I kind of made videos during the start of COVID. I remember how scary and crazy the world felt at that moment. That it was like, what is going to be happening and what's the future? And I remember thinking that this is a huge opportunity for some of you guys to really just hone in and stay productive and carve out some new time and some new opportunities to increase your skills as sync licensing producers. Because you know, if you don't have that kind of productive, positive, purposeful, um, state of mind, especially when the world feels really chaotic, it's like the only alternative is you're just going to fall into that state of chaos, right? It's just going to pull you into this feeling of, just uncertainty and fear and depression and just sadness and just, all the crazy things that were going on. And sure enough, here we are. I kind of jokingly said this to some of my family and friends. I said, the only way we're going to really stop obsessing over COVID and everything that's going on with it is we're probably going to have a war. I mean, sadly, it's like usually people do not just go from, I'm really afraid of this, I'm really afraid of this, to one day going like, all right, I'm no longer afraid. Usually what happens is we're afraid of something, and then basically a new big fear pushes that original fear out of the way. And now it's like, oh, this is the new thing I can be afraid of. And we don't worry about the last thing anymore. But it's not that we were moving past the fear, it's just we swapped out the fear. And sure enough, all the stuff going on, you guys probably are knowing, is the new fear, the big story that we get to be afraid of and uncertain about and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, it never stops. It's kind of comical that it'll never stop. It'll be, I mean, it's sad what's happening. I'm not laughing at the tragedy, but I'm just saying, in terms of our mental focus, it's fear after fear. You just swap it out like a deck of cards. New card, new card, new card, right? So if you let that, whatever you want to call that, dictate your energy, you won't be very productive and creative, right? Because there'll always be a reason to be a little bit down, a little bit not feeling good about the world. Whereas you can consciously inject productivity and positivity and motivation into your life. It doesn't mean you have to bury your head in the sand and pretend like, nothing's happening in the world, of course. But I really, for myself, I'm not going to tell anybody what to do. For myself, there is a really hard limit on how much of me watching the news and being informed about the world is actually helpful for myself. There's actually a small amount of it that I think is at all helpful. Anything above that little tiny threshold is just harmful for me, doesn't help the world, doesn't help anybody, and it turns into this sort of act of self-harm and just creating more anxiety in my life that's not helpful. So you guys decide, obviously, what works for you, how much being informed about what's going on in the world is helpful. But I do want to be at least some sort of a voice out there on the world that's saying, you don't have to let it consume you. You really don't have to. You're not a bad person if you're not watching the news 24/7, finding out all the latest details about all the horrible things that are happening around the world. A little bit of being informed is probably okay, and a lot of or say a large number of consciously staying away from all the gruesome details, I think is also very healthy. At least that's for me. I'm totally comfortable with that. No problems at all. So anyways, just wanted to give you guys that encouragement, and hopefully we're kind of on the same page there. But whatever works, whatever works for you guys, and you're staying productive, you're staying positive, and you're able to still focus on your creativity. That's what matters, because we are all sort of here creatives, right? And creative people are usually a little bit more sensitive, I find, sensitive to the world, sensitive to other emotions, sensitive to the news, sensitive to what's happening in the world, and I definitely feel it. And so I have to be very conscious of how much I let that stuff come into my consciousness. I really want to control it, and I want to be very mindful of it. And so I'm not being sort of pushed around by it. I'd rather have a little bit more control. So, Igor, welcome, man. I'm reflecting about your quality versus quantity debate and how to balance both in my sync career. In my experience, I got much more placements with tracks that I really put a lot of effort. Okay. Sounds great. I mean, my thing is like go with what works, right? So there is going to be a time where you want to focus on quality, and maybe particularly with trailer tracks or big sync fee opportunities, where it's like you might be securing $20,000-$30,000 with the sync fee. It might be worth it spending a week or two really getting that one track done. Other times, if you're doing maybe background instrumental music for reality shows, well, do you really need to spend a full week on a track? I don't think you do. I really do think maybe a day is at the most, maybe a couple of days. So it kind of depends on what your goals are, who you're serving, what kind of a library you're working on. But for me, my strategy has really been about the quantity. I do want to make sure it's high quality, of course, the best I can do. But I do look at quantity because most of my placements are 25, $50, sometimes much less, pennies, right? And so if I'm basically stacking up a lot of smaller placements, well, I'm going to have a larger number of tracks that are out there gathering those placements. So keeping a consistent productive schedule, doing those at least 3 to 5 tracks a week is for me how I was able to build up that passive income and still get my royalties. So, and keep my royalties coming in. So there's not one way that works better than the other, but I do think that if we get so focused on quality that we lose the focus of, well, not every track is going to be an amazing $1 million earner. It's just not how this industry works. Kind of zooming out a little bit and getting a little bit of more of a healthier focus on, I'm going to do my best. I'm going to put out the effort I need to, but I'm also not going to just completely fall in love and get tunnel vision into this one track and spend a month on it, right? That's what I want to make sure that we kind of keep our healthy balance, whatever that looks like for you, okay? All right. David's not skipping out. This is your work. Right on, man. Glad to hear that. All right. See you later, Rob. Glad you joined us, buddy. Cool. I see if I was helping you learn how to produce during the lockdown. That's awesome, man, that you gathered some new tools for that. Very cool. Hardware, you're saying you already got a GoDaddy website. Want to know if you'd say I need to have it on there. I don't know exactly how GoDaddy's websites look these days. I'm sure they look pretty good. I mean, back in the day, they looked pretty bad. They had this sort of outdated website designer thing that looked like it was like an early 2000s website. I'm sure they've updated it since then. So as long as you feel it looks professional, like, yeah, it's cool. If it plays the music and it's a real easy, simple design, it looks professional, then that's great. What's cool about the thing that I put together with Wix is it has an automatic like website design, like an AI sort of program where literally you say, I do music, here's my name, here's a couple of little bits of data, and you click a button, and literally their program designs the whole thing for you. So imagine, like, we don't need to be website designers, right? Let's focus our time on music. That's really what we want to do. And this has this program where it just automatically designs it, makes it look really, really professional. And you can check out the one that I did in that tutorial so you can see what it looks like. But really easy, and you save all that time and energy, and you don't have to become a website creator, right? Designer. Scott, welcome, man. Great to be on here with y'all. Got a month off from work after surgery. Oh, so you finally got some time to get back at it. Right on, man. Hope the surgery went well. Hope you're recovering well. Doesn't sound like too much fun, but I'm glad that you're taking the most and making the most of your time off. So that's great, man. MIK, I don't know if you're Mick. I guess I'm going to call you Mick. Can you send ambient music to music libraries? Yes, there are definitely some libraries that will accept ambient music, but not all of them. I don't think all of them are going to be a good fit for ambient music. So there was one recently in SyncEdge that I did recommend that did have some really interesting minimal ambient kind of electronic chill music. But you can't just send it out to every library and go, well, let's see what happens. You really got to make sure that you're sending it to a particular library that, first of all, contains it. Like, that's the first thing I would say is, like, do they even have ambient music in their library? Because if you make the mistake of going to a library and you're like, well, they don't have any, so I'll be the only one. Yeah, that might be true. And it might be possible that they accept it because they're like, you know what? Maybe one day we'll use ambient music. But you don't want to be a producer sitting there with maybe one day placements, right? You want placements now, this month, next month. You want to start your process of getting those royalties built up, right? So making sure that there's already a snowball rolling with the library, meaning they already have ambient music and they already got clients that could possibly use it. You can see that kind of stuff when you do your proper research of these music libraries on their websites. That's what I do with SyncEdge is I walk you guys through, here's their website, here's their clients, and here's their music. here's the type of music, or at least the genre that I feel would really work well with them. And sometimes there's multiple genres that I feel could do well with them. But I try to point you guys in the direction of the most licensable sounds that can actually get the most placements and as soon as possible. That's obviously really important, right? All right. THK, this is a really good question, but also you're putting yourself in a dangerous place, and I don't recommend this. Okay, so he's asking, um, if multiple libraries accept your music, how would you suggest telling a few of them that you won't give them the music? You're in a really bad position. I don't know if you did this already. If you did, I'm sorry that you didn't watch some of my previous videos where I basically tell people this. I feel like I tell people this all the time. Don't do it. I hope you didn't do it. Maybe you did, but whatever. I do not recommend anybody submit the same library music to multiple companies at once and hoping something will stick. It's the biggest mistake a lot of producers make, and this is why. If you did it and you have more than one library coming back to you saying, cool, we like your music. Well, guess what you're going to do basically in the beginning of your sync licensing career? You're going to start making enemies. Because what you just did is you baited and switched them, right? Maybe you didn't mean to do that. You were just trying to send it out to multiple companies to see who got back to you. But now there might be 2 or 3 companies that you actually want to work with. And you got to decide now. You got to tell one of them, sure, I'll work with you. And you got to tell the other 2, oh, I was just joking. I didn't really have that music. Or, yeah, I sent it to you, but I decided to give it to a different company, like immediately. Not a good look, man. And now these companies will probably not want to work with you. So if there is a blacklist that they have, you're probably going straight on it. So I hope you didn't do it. If you did it, basically don't do it again. Obviously, select the library that you want to work with. And you're going to have to really, really sugarcoat and apologize to the ones that, you aren't going to be sending your music to. And hopefully you didn't blow that with them. And you can maybe try to ask them like, hey, I made a mistake. I sent out music to multiple companies. I didn't know that was probably not a great thing to do. I do apologize. I do want to work with you. Those tracks have been accepted by a different library, but I do want to work with you. Are you open to having me potentially put together a full album for you? I will come back to you when it's ready. Maybe you can consider accepting that. Just basically put your hands together and pray and be very, very apologetic and try that way. Hopefully that might work. But it might not. They might have such a sour, bitter taste in their mouth from what you did that they might not want to. So don't be surprised. So for everybody else, do not do that. Go to one company, get one specific pitch for them, treat them like a human being, and say, hey, I really want to work with your company. Give them a week or 2 to respond. If they don't, move on to another company. You got to do it one at a time. I really do think that's the only way to make sure that you're not going to burn bridges so quickly in this business. So. Frederick's asking, do you collab with artists or write vocal tracks? I haven't done a lot of vocal work in my career because I've had not great experiences with a lot of artists that are doing vocals. So I've done a couple of them and some of them worked out okay. But for the most part, I really was focusing on just instrumental music because I can control the entire process from start to finish. So, but everybody has their own. I think collaborating is a good idea, especially with vocals. Will I be doing more podcasts in the future? I don't know. I don't plan on doing any more right now, Justin. I do appreciate your question there. It's just been something that, I enjoyed it to a certain extent, but I think I enjoy YouTube a little bit more. I do like I don't know. I just like the shorter video content. I feel like I can really put more powerful content together, but I don't have any plans for it right now. I'm not taking it off the internet, and I'm still paying for it to stay online. There's definitely a monthly fee for me to keep those podcasts up there, and I'm not going to be stopping that. So I'm going to keep them up there for anybody who wants to check them out. But yeah, I can't tell you I have any immediate plans for keeping that going. So. D Brizzy, can you put out some more tough love videos and motivation videos? Literally binge watch all those and they helped a lot. Awesome, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, I think I should put some more tough love stuff, motivation videos. I think I want to get into that. I've been thinking lately that I might even want to be getting into some bigger concept videos that aren't necessarily about sync licensing specifically, but most about like my life's philosophy about how I don't know, get through life and survive life, because it's sometimes just kicks our asses, right? So I don't want it to come across, though, as a motivational series of videos where I'm telling you guys how to live your life and how to be more productive, because I'm just tired of those videos. There's too many of those on YouTube. But I definitely want to share some of those where it's just me and my perspective and my philosophy. And if you want to take from it, cool. And if you feel like, it's not for me, Great, that's great too. So I do want to do more of those. I think this month though, I'm really focusing on the pro feedback service. I really want to put out. We have a lot of content. We have a lot of reviews. We got those interviews with our pros. We got a lot of stuff that we want to put out this month because I'm really sort of heavily promoting that because I think this is such a powerful service that I want a lot of people just to be aware of it. Whether or not you join, that's obviously your control. But I don't want anybody to not know that there is a way for them to get awesome, high quality, and the best form professional feedback on their sync tracks. So this is obviously a sync licensing focused platform. So I'm going to really just sort of be tooting the horn on that for a couple of weeks, and then maybe into April and May, I can get back into that motivational tough love stuff. So but I appreciate the suggestion though. And Yele is here as well. Yele is another one of our pros. Welcome. So we had Hans and Yele. Glad you guys are here. Um, awesome. Adam got the 2021 music directory. What did I just lose going on here? All right, we're going to go back to our Logitech because something is happening with my webcam. I think it got too hot or something. Weird. Apologies, guys. Switch out my thing. Let me see if I can edit the transform. 0, 0 there. Full self there. There we go. Cool. Rolling with the punches. Yeah, my new camera I have, it actually has a heat automatic shut off thing, which I think I can turn off. I have to look at how to do that. But basically, if I run a live stream for too long, it starts to glitch out on me, and it's not good. Turns off actually, and that's what basically just happened. Okay, whatever. It still works good. We can still see us, still hear us, right? You guys can still see. Cool. Where were we at? All right. Yele, I was glad you're here, buddy. It's all right. Yeah, THK, don't beat yourself up. I'm sorry you didn't catch one of my videos where I said that. I definitely say it all the time, though. And I'm obviously saying it again now. So don't send your the same music out to multiple companies. Just do the responsible thing and just do one at a time. It's a little slower. I know that. But it is the smarter way to make sure that you're not burning bridges because there's only so many companies in this business, guys. We can't afford to be burning bridges with companies that could literally be the make or break in terms of us making this our full-time job or not. So it's all good. Don't beat yourself up. We all make mistakes. I've made plenty, trust me. But yeah, just make sure you do the right thing moving forward and beg them. Just really, really be. And I think honesty and transparency is always better. I wouldn't come up with a half truth about, whatever, coming up with some excuse as to why they can't get the tracks. Honesty, transparency, it actually reflects much better on you. Even though you're being honest about the fact that you made a mistake, I think it's going to reflect better on you and they're going to feel better about working with you, the fact that you're being transparent and honest. So I do think that's always the best policy for sure. Diego, welcome, man. You met your business partners thanks to Sync Academy. Wow, I met them like 3 weeks in. That's what I call productive use of my money. Thanks for the content. Right on. Very cool. So it looks like you started a little production crew in Sync Academy. That's really cool to hear. All right. Frederick, welcome. You're welcome. All right. Mick has another question. I'm really demotivated because I don't know how to start. For example, I love writing all genres, but I don't know what would be possible to write in many genres for music. Scary to start when you don't know that much information. Absolutely, Mick, and I totally relate to that. Right off the top of your head, don't even think about it. Don't contemplate this. Don't try to come up with a, whatever, an exaggerated answer. What's the first genre that you want to produce? First thing, like your biggest love, the one genre that you're like, I love this, I'm great at this, I listen to this. What's that one genre? So that's the first thing I would say start with is try to come up with that single genre that you want to do. Once you have that, and maybe you can put it in the chat here and I can try to help you out. You got to make sure, is it licensable? Is it something that's in high demand? Is it actually a style that you could feel yourself growing with? Is it what, maybe a good number of libraries could actually need? So you got to sort of answer those questions on top of it. But being overwhelmed in the beginning of this business is very, very common. Almost everybody feels that way. There's definitely probably a part of you that's excited. You see the potential of it, but there's also a part of you that's like, oh my God, like, how do I learn everything? Just know that you will never understand everything in this business. I'm 13 years in this business. I don't understand everything. There are still plenty of question marks, plenty of unknowns for me 13 years in, okay? So that's not a reason to not get started though. That's not a reason to not jump on board, start making music, start pitching the library, start at least getting sort of taking some swings in this business. Okay, just know there's no such thing as knowing everything, but my YouTube channel would be the first place to go in. And if you haven't gone through my free 5-day course, that would probably be even better than my YouTube channel, because that is specifically designed to walk somebody who's literally brand new, never doesn't know anything about sync licensing, doesn't even know this industry exists. Walk them from video 1, video 5. I have a 5-part series. You can watch them all at once if you want to explain to you the potential of this business. I have a whole outline, sort of a graphic animation on how it works, how the money flows, how the placements flow, who the different players are, what your role in all of this stuff is. And I explain a lot of the common terms that you're going to need to understand: royalties, publishing, writer share, synchronization, sync fees, consideration fees, all these terms that might seem like, what is all this stuff? We make it very, very clear for you. So if you just go to syncmymusic.com, there's a link at the very top of the page. You can see just start a free course. So definitely go through that. And then you can obviously check out a lot of the videos I have here on my channel. Frederick got a placement on the show Resident Alien episode 7. Right on, man. Congrats. That's cool that you heard about that. How did you hear about that? Did your library let you know, or do you have a TuneSet account? Because it's pretty rare for us to actually know. Or maybe you got it on a royalty statement, actually. I don't know if this is something that happened previously, but congrats either way, man. That's really cool. Yeah, and Yele, one of our Sync pros here, is saying that we've all been there. And Yele himself obviously started just a few years ago, 3 years ago or so. He's saying never be afraid to ask questions and fail from time to time. You can learn a lot from failure. Absolutely. And failure is even like a really big word. Sometimes I don't think we should be using that word. It's just trial. I don't even think you want to put error in there. It's just try stuff, right? Try this, try that. Sometimes it'll work. And if it doesn't work, you can frame it in terms of, oh, I failed. It didn't, I didn't get accepted. This track wasn't licensable, blah, 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 blah. Or you can reframe it and say, well, now I know it doesn't work, right? Now I have one more piece of information about, well, this approach doesn't quite work, so I can get one step closer towards what does. So either way, it's a step towards the right direction, right? That's just a framing choice. How do you want to look at it? You didn't do something right, you failed, you flopped, whatever. Or I did good. Like I did what I was supposed to do, and now I'm one step closer towards whatever my goal is going to be. So completely your choice how you want to perceive it. This is why framing and mindset and your psychology so important. Those of you in Sync Academy, hopefully all of you guys have gone through some of the Sync Psych series, but that's why I put those together, because this is the stuff that makes most people bail out. And this is what a lot of people who talk about this business don't ever acknowledge. A lot of them are talking about the technical knowledge, and I know I'm guilty of that too. I talk about technical stuff: producing, mixing, and mastering, and royalties, and libraries, and blah, 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 submitting. These are all technical details, though. Anybody can learn these kind of things. It's not that hard. What's much more challenging is that psychological thing, that like getting into this business, being a little bit isolated, and facing some pushback, some rejection, some non-responses, pitching for custom opportunities, not getting it. That stuff is what will have people bail out of this business and go, I'm done. I'm not waiting for royalties. I'm not waiting for this or that. And it's because the frame, the mindset that they have is, I think, the cause of that. I'm not going to say it's wrong or they're not thinking properly, but they're just using a type of thinking, a type of frame that will always prevent them from succeeding. It doesn't matter that it's sync licensing or something else. If they're framing what they're doing in these kind of negative terms, it'll 100% of the time have them bail out and quit and run away and walk away from this kind of a thing. So having your psychology right, it's one of those things that people don't think is that important. That's why unfortunately, a lot of members do not watch the Sync Psych series and Sync Academy. But when you hit that moment, and you will, everybody, all of us do, where you feel like giving up and you're not sure if this is the right business for you, that's what those are for. I really hope you guys go running for those psych tutorials, because that's what they were created for. So anyways, back to the chat. Awesome. Vincent's asking, are libraries looking for vocal pop top 40 material? Absolutely. In fact, one of our guest reviewers for Pro Feedback this month is an owner of a major library that specifically focuses on pop music, vocal music. So absolutely, it's a huge, huge thing. It's actually getting more and more popular. As I've been reviewing more libraries for Sync Edge, more and more companies are looking for tracks with vocals. So it's becoming a much more popular thing. So absolutely, if you are able to produce those vocals, partner with somebody who can deliver those vocals, you're in a really strong position as this industry develops forward, for sure. Igor is saying I'm working with two libraries. One focuses on ads, which are big placements, but only a few of them, and one focuses on TV, which are small ones, but constantly. I think that should be enough, right? I mean, ideally, yes. If basically the one who's focusing on TV placements, if they are consistently getting you placements, yeah, I think that one plus another one could certainly be enough for potentially full-time income. So I can't tell you for sure it's going to be enough because what kind of placements are they getting? How often do they get you placements? The big placements you say that are few, is that like once a year you're getting a big ad placement or once a quarter? So there's a lot of variables there where I'm not going to tell you like, yes, you're good to go, just stick with those two. But I think that is potentially enough to have two libraries that you're working with that are both consistently getting you significant placements. Then yeah, that can absolutely be it. I think 2 to 3 libraries is the max you probably need in this business. So if these are both solid companies, they're working with you, communicating with you, and most importantly, getting you those placements, and you feel good as the quarter goes on, as the placements stack up, absolutely, that should be totally enough to keep you busy enough in this business for sure. All right, you're welcome, Mick. Now, Mick, I don't know if you gave us your genre, but I'd love to know, man, if you could just put it in the chat what genre you feel like is 100% for you that you feel that you can do with, because sometimes just putting that down will get you past this big stumbling block where you feel like you don't know how to get started. So just writing it down might actually help you get past that hurdle. So hopefully it will. Yeah, Walt saying great advice to pick one genre that you actually like and are good at doing. That's where I learned at Sync Academy to start. Things will ripple out from there. Great, Walt. That's really cool, man, that you did do that. Oh, cool. So Yelle is saying that the word fail means trial and error in Dutch language. Very good. You guys have a great definition of it. I like that better. There you go. Ebo Soso says, "No such thing as failure, just results. Failure is just a result you didn't want." There you go. That's right. Justin's asking, "How many times did you go back to the drawing board at the beginning of your career?" What do you mean, Justin? Like drawing board, like re checking my production approach, or quitting the industry? I don't know exactly what you mean. Clarify what you mean by going back to the drawing board. I definitely felt like giving up many times, especially when you get these tiny little royalty checks the first couple of years. You're working a lot and you're not getting a lot for it in the beginning. So I had a lot of those fork in the road moments of like, am I gonna go? Am I not? But I'm not sure what you mean by back to the drawing board. Let me know what you mean by that. So THK says, I thought I understood the music business like a pro until I got into your channel. I had sync earnings before, but I had no idea about the library world. Cool, man. Well, I'm glad that I helped you see a little bit more about this business. So it's a weird industry. We are definitely in the Wild West, though. There's so many things. There's no like standards in this business. That's what's really tricky about it. A lot of people want to know like, well, how much do you get paid for this? And I've gotten many people like, well, I just got a placement on this channel and it's going like this. How much do you think I could realistically expect to get paid my royalties? And it's like, as much as I know and as long as I've been in this business, I have to just put my hands on like, I don't know. I have no idea. A lot of this stuff is pretty secretive. There are secret algorithms and calculations from the pros about how much we get paid for royalties. So we know the variables, we know what goes into their calculations, but we don't know exactly what we're going to get paid. So there's a lot of this that's just out of our control, and it's frustrating, but it also needs to be something we can accept to the best of our ability and then focus on what we can control, which is our quality, right? Yeah, Frederick's absolutely right. Sync game is a long game. Too many think it's going to happen instantly, and that's why a lot of people get excited about the business. And a month or two in, I never hear from them again. They thought they were going to blow up with some big placement, and because it's like, oh, this is actually a real gig. This is actually work. Oh, I'm out of here. See you later. I thought I was just going to get this huge placement, and so it's okay. I mean, it's just not for everybody. But I think those of you guys that are here pretty much understand that this is a multi-year commitment to your career. And it has to be that way if you want to turn this into long-term passive income. There's just no way to get around that. There is no fast path to passive income. You really do. Nothing's for free. No free lunches. You really got to work at this. Isaiah is saying or asking, I'm working with this library with a huge roster of composers. I've been contacted in the past to put together albums for them. Haven't heard anything in a few months. Should I reach out? So you're saying the library has asked in the last few months to put together a few albums for them. Haven't heard anything in a few months. Should I reach out? So they so they asked you in the past to put together albums. Did you put those albums together? Or did you send it to them and they didn't respond? Like there's a gap here. I don't know what happened. So they reached out to you, they asked you to put music together. So either you did put that music together for them and they haven't responded to you, or you haven't done those albums yet and then you haven't heard anything else. So let me know a little bit more about what's going on there. Mick is saying it's actually really hard times right now because I make music for a really long time, but I uh, can't use it to start music career, maybe at a main job, and of course, money out of it. Um, let's see. Okay, here's what he said. I think ambient orchestral is most like genre. There you go. So wherever that came from in your brain, that is probably where you should start, right? Orchestral, ambient, maybe minimal orchestral music. So step one would be finding a library that has some minimal orchestral library music in there, and there are plenty of them. And mostly what you're going to find is that's going to be great for drama TV shows, movies, documentaries probably, and also reality shows or competition shows. You'll probably see a lot of that kind of stuff. It's like basically minimal tension music is what I'm seeing you want to go check out. So find libraries that are really great with minimal tension music. We've got tons of them in Sync Edge if you want to save yourself a lot of time and also get my best insights and tips for how to basically ensure that you get, or at least increase your chances. I can't ensure you get accepted, but I can help you get better odds for sure of getting accepted by these companies. So we can certainly save and shave off a lot of the time of finding those companies. So I would definitely go that direction first. You say you like to write electronic music, that's awesome. Stick to one though, right? This is what's tricky, but if you want to get past this point of like, well, I have so many options, I can do all these different things, that's what's stopping you, is you're not able to just sort of focus on the one thing and march forward in that direction. Trust me, don't worry, you will branch out, you will do electronic music, you'll do other styles. I started off with just one style and I branched out into almost every type of music you can think of. I've done hip hop, country, orchestral, EDM, pop. I've dabbled in many of them with the different libraries I've worked with throughout the year. So you will not be pigeonholed into one style, but to get started and to have your best foot forward and to get that focused and to have the best high quality music to even get into a library, you got to make that point. You got to make that sort of focus point and say, this is what I'm going to focus on. So that's what I would tell you to do. It was the first answer that came to you. I would go with that one. So Scott saying transitional elements risers. If an editor loops sections, how do they get around the reverb trail from the transition effect? Is it in the alt mixes? It depends. I mean, yeah, some of your risers and stuff, if they have like a tail on them, it might be harder for them to get around. But also a lot of times they can sort of Frankenstein something together, or they might have sound effects that they sort of have access to. So let's say they need to have a swell coming up. Let's say your track has a swell and then it crashes into this new track. They might have their own sound effects that they can just, you know what, we can hear that there's a swell and then it sort of cuts off. They might be able to pop in their own little sound effect, their own little crash cymbal. So they have all those kind of tricks and tools and sound effects in their arsenal, so they can certainly do that as well. But yeah, if they want to also use maybe one of your stems, maybe in your stem you actually have those transitional effects that can actually take that and then put that in there as they need to. So there's definitely ways to get around that. Great question though. Justin saying reapproaching how you make a track. Thanks for the pro feedback. I feel like I have saved years of trial and error. How was it like for you since you didn't have a service like this? Oh, okay. Well, like I said, for me, a lot of it was like kind of just ignorance. So I knew I was working with a library and I knew they were accepting my track. So I kind of had that confidence of like, well, I'm doing something right. Like they're paying me these consideration fees. But what happened is as the years went on, I got a couple of placements, but a lot of my music just sat on the shelves of these libraries. And it's like, man, I'm getting like a couple of things here and there, but like a lot of the music that I do is just sitting there, not getting placements. That was what was really frustrating. And I think what would have helped me back then is if somebody listened to these tracks and said, all right, you've got a nugget of a cool idea here, but this might not be licensable because X, Y, and Z. So I think getting some of that feedback earlier on in my career would have made sure that I was only producing tracks that were getting a better shot at getting those placements, as opposed to what I was doing, which was just cool. I wrote a cool riff, right? Let me put a beat together. So I was kind of only thinking about in terms of my old sort of being in the band and putting out original music. That was still my mindset. I wasn't entirely into the sort of service mindset of like, I need to craft this so that's really useful and licensable for the library and their clients. If you can get into that state of mind, you can blow away the competition. So that's what you're getting with pro feedback. And that's what would have helped me tremendously, is to have these guys that have been in the business for 10, 15, 20 years know from their trial and errors of what's worked, what's gotten placements, what doesn't get placements, what gets accepted by libraries, what doesn't. We even have obviously library owners that are part of our pros that will give you that feedback to say like, and that's what they do all day long is they get submissions from people and say, well, this works, that doesn't work. So they know exactly what can help you guys get accepted into libraries. So that's the kind of stuff that I think would have shaved me off a lot of time in terms of getting more placements sooner in my career, which would have resulted in bigger royalties much sooner, resulting in better income for me. So that's what pro feedback can do for you guys. That's why it's super powerful. Let's see, David Lowe. I've been at a year positive feedback from licensing company, but no placements. Is it time to hit up another library? I produce funky R&B. Funky R&B. It's not one of the higher genres that I would say like it's not the highest in demand. There's going to be some placements for it, but I would, if I were you, it might be the library. It might be a time to find another library that has a better fit. But I think the bigger issue, to be honest with you, is think about something else other than funky R&B. To be honest with you, I think if you can get into some pop music, some modern pop music, maybe even bring a little bit of the funk vibe to it and kind of be a modern Bruno Mars sort of a feel, but get a little bit more into pop. I think you're going to find just more placements. I think just funky R&B. I don't know. I mean, I'm thinking right. I'm racking my brain on where I would even hear funky R&B. Maybe a couple of ads I could hear that sort of working out, but maybe a couple of reality shows. But it's just not a genre that I think there's going to be a lot of demand for in the TV market. So it might just be your genre direction. So I don't, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but that's just my honest thought right there. It might not be your library. It might just be your style of music. That's just not something that's all a lot, in demand with a lot of clients on TV. So. Awesome. Mick, glad to hear that, man. That makes my day that this was helpful for you. So I don't have a Discord chat or anything. The only way that I am sort of available in a sort of social media platform is through the platforms that I've put out there. So Sync Academy is going to be the biggest one in terms of being able to put out your questions, talk to other members. I do comment. Those of you there in Sync Academy know that if you put a question up on the platform, I'm usually one of the first ones to answer it, to give you guys my 2 cents on it. But of course, I'm not the sort of end all be all of sync licensing. We have other members answering and helping out. So, but I'm definitely available on that platform. And of course, with pro feedback, if you want me to listen to your music, there's obviously opportunities for you guys to do that there. And then the Sync Edge, we do our live monthly Q&As. So that we actually have that one coming up this Saturday. So that's a really cool way for those of you that we're basically doing what we're doing right now, but we do it consistently every single month. And I give you guys a little heads up so you guys can make sure that you're there. And there's only a small number of members that show up, so we make sure that everybody gets their questions answered. So, but no Discord or anything like that. We just have our own sort of platforms where we do that. We kind of stay focused on sync licensing. Igor is saying, how realistic is it to make six figures in this business? Looks like it happens just to a few incredibly amazing producers. Yeah, it can definitely happen. I'm not going to say that it is sort of an average salary for sync licensing producers. My expectations, or where I want to set for you guys, where I feel is realistic, is I think it's like 20 to maybe 60,000 a year is probably what you can shoot for if you're consistently crushing it, cranking out music, consistently putting out music in libraries. If you want to get into that six figures or above, you need to get probably bigger placements in terms of you might just need to be at the right place at the right time. Theme placements, maybe big commercials, that kind of a thing. And maybe some just once in a while throughout your career, you're going to get some huge sync fees, hopefully, with some ads or some custom opportunities. So those can have some huge sync fees that can bump you up over that number. But yeah, it's not the norm. I don't think it's the average for sure. But it certainly is possible. So I do want you guys to be thinking in terms of these larger numbers. I think it's certainly possible. But you do need to, I think that's where that, if many of you guys hopefully watched my videos, I think it was a couple weeks ago about luck. That's kind of what I talk about in terms of getting that over that $100,000 a year mark. Is it's about consistency, showing up, being at the right place at the right time, and then boom, you find these opportunities that skyrocket your career and your opportunities. It's just the way this business works. So you have to basically just show up over and over and over and over again, and it's going to feel like you're not making much growth, not much progress, maybe a little bit, but there will be opportunities where it's like, oh, because I was with this library at this time with my music and I've been consistent with them, they gave me this huge opportunity, and boom, it exploded my income potential. So that's kind of how that stuff works, but it's not something that you can just say, oh yeah, I can expect to have this kind of money in a year or two. We just don't have that kind of a business here. So Um, all right, Wes, you got about 50 tracks on your website. With pro feedback, can I get mentorship on my website catalog as a whole? Or do you think the answer is to submit my best work and take it from there? Yeah, so with pro feedback, you can get multiple tracks reviewed by us. So basically, with your monthly membership, you have the potential to get up to 3 tracks every single month reviewed in video format. Okay, so the first is you get a guarantee no matter what. Select the pro that you want to review your tracks. That's guaranteed in your monthly membership. Then I do a once a month live review session where if you submit to me, I can't guarantee that every month I can get to everybody's tracks, but I can tell you that last month I did get to everybody's tracks. So I think there's going to be some months where I will, but regardless, if you submit to me and I don't get to your track that month, I will always push you up to the top of the list the following month if you submit another track. Okay, so I make sure that everybody gets some sort of a feedback through that process. I can only do it for so long, and I can only do it for so many times. All right. So I want to make sure that I'm limiting my availability, because if I were to be doing this all the time, every day, trust me, guys, you would never see me again. I'd be buried in work. And so I'm doing this in a way that I can sustainably keep doing this every single month. So you can certainly get that. That's a second track you can get. And then we've been just releasing this new bonus review opportunity where all of us, all the pros, get together and we collectively review 4 tracks per month. So basically, if you're one of those 4, you get a live review and you get your pro feedback. You can basically get those 3 tracks. On top of that, there is an ability to have you, if you want to get more feedback, you can purchase additional video and text only feedback versions. So those are available to members only. So if you want a lot of tracks reviewed real quick, there is definitely an option for you to do that. However, yeah, just throwing 50 tracks up, we're not going to be able to do that, obviously, in your first month. So I would recommend for you, if you want to join us, is put out, let's say you get your 50 tracks, maybe you got a couple of different styles or directions you went with them. Try to put one of each, right? 3 different versions, maybe in those 3 different sort of opportunities that we have going on, and get some feedback in that. And then you can start to decide what kind of changes you want to make. And the idea is with the monthly membership is that the next month, you can select the same pro if you want to and see, hey, did I do better? Or you can post a new track, or you can decide, you know what, I got some feedback from that pro, I like it, but I'm going to try this guy. I think this guy might have some different things, different points of view. I like his experience. I like his music. You get to check out these pros. You get to really do your research on who they are, what kind of music they produce. So that's what's really powerful about it, is you get to shop and decide who you want to have work with you. And then the idea is that this is a monthly check-in process. So as opposed to what most producers are doing right now, especially when they're brand new, is they're just producing whatever. I'm going to make some music. I'm going to pull in all these different styles. I'm going to pull in some different things. When you have somebody you can check in on with on a monthly basis, you can actually say, hey, am I going in the right direction? Are my tracks getting better? Are my drums hitting harder? Are my mixes sounding great? Do my choruses feel like they're bigger and more open and more stereo spread? Are my intros and my outros working? Is my track structure more licensable now, right? So you get to check in on a monthly basis and know that you are either going in the right direction, making improvements, or not quite there. Here's where you need to course correct. So that's the difference. That's the sort of amazing power that you're going to get with pro feedback, which most producers, unfortunately, without that, are going to spend 6 months, a year going in circles. All right, I'm working really hard, and the music doesn't get any better, and the production doesn't get any better, and they don't really know what they're doing because they don't have focus, and they don't have somebody who's got experience in this business guiding them and saying, hey, put your blinders on. Don't worry about any of that other stuff. Focus on this. If you can start to get this done and improve this, everything else starts to take care of itself and start getting better. Or at least we get this fixed, and then we can start to build out and start focusing on these other areas. That's actually how we get better. We don't try to have you tackle all these different elements all at once. We make sure that we're very, very specific and focused on the feedback that we give you guys. So D-Lobs, something slightly different, but how important do you think an album cover art or album art cover is important in library music? Extremely important, because it's marketing. It's basically going to be the first thing that a client going into their website is going to see and decide whether or not they want to even listen to the music. But you will not be designing those for libraries. That is their job. They are in charge of the marketing, so they're going to be in charge of that. I've heard of one library that does ask their composers to do that, which I thought was really odd. I don't think you're going to run into that, though. I think for the most part, they're going to take care of the marketing and the album artwork and all that good stuff. And when you're submitting your music to them, I don't think you need to do that either. A lot of people want to do it, if you want to put something together just to show something, that's not a bad idea, but it's not necessary. I think having just high quality music on a really professional looking website is really all you need. Um, Can you see EDM being highly used in game trailers? Yeah, I think EDM is being used in trailers right now, especially even EDM like orchestral hybrid stuff. I think that can certainly do well with that. So, Brad K, you're finishing a track to send the pro feedback with the game trailers in mind. Awesome. Yeah, make sure you put that too. We in our submission forms, you can put a little bit of a comment on like maybe something you're looking for. Let them know that that's what you're having in mind. That's what you're going for, because that can help them go, oh, okay, if you're going for game trailers, this might be what you want to think about. So make sure you include that information in your submission. So. All right, guys. Thank you so much for being with me today. I'm going to go to hop off here. I'm going to let you guys get back to being productive and all that good stuff. So it was fun. It was fun hanging with you guys. I hope you guys feel more motivated, inspired, educated, whatever it is I can do for you guys. Really appreciate you. And yeah, I encourage you, if you're not in pro feedback, give us a shot. Like I said before, 30-day money back guarantee, cancel anytime. There's literally nothing to risk. I just want you guys to get in, get some professional feedback, maybe for the first time in your life, actually have somebody who knows what they're talking about in this business. Just know what that feels like firsthand, how powerful that feels, and to get some actual guidance and focus. And if it's not great, email me. We cancel you, we refund you, okay? I don't want you to be a part of this thing if it's not actually helping you. But I really do think most of you guys getting involved with this are going to find that this is a huge game changer for you. It's actually going to make a big difference in terms of launching your career forward in a much faster way. So profeedback.me, www.profeedback.me if you want to check it out. We still have some spots for the discounted 30% off rate, but those spots will be going away soon. So definitely do not snooze on this and don't wait. We hope to have you guys join us there. And until we speak again, you guys stay productive and have a fantastic rest of your week.